Welcome back to the video tutorial for Conversation Builder. Let's start by launching the application. Welcome back to Conversation Builder. The very first thing we need to do is set up a student profile. You click the Manage Users button in the upper right part of the screen to do this. You can either select an existing user or create a new user. Let's create a new one. You are asked for several pieces of information that are used inside the conversations to personalize them. The student's name is also used to set up a folder that will store a student's saved recordings. We ask for their first name, last initial, age, primary interest, and the city they live in. All this information must be entered for the student to be able to play. And then we'll hit the Create button. So we'll go ahead and set this up. And hit Done. Now we select the type of conversations we want to have. We have one-on-one conversations and group conversations. One-on-one conversations are between the student and a virtual friend, while the group setting allows you to pass the iPad around among multiple people and make up your own conversations. One-on-one conversations are guided in a particular direction. You can select whether you want a 4-exchange or an 8-exchange conversation. If you are playing one-on-one conversations, you can choose who initiates the conversation. If you choose student, then the player will initiate the conversations. When peer is selected, the player will respond to someone else initiating a conversation with them. And if you select random, then the conversation initiator is chosen at random. The next thing you do is select the conversation module you want to play. The conversation modules are theme-based, with all the conversations in a module revolving around the theme. There are 6 themes: animals, friends around town, holidays, playground, water, and winter. We also have this base conversation module. The base conversation module has 6 or 7 conversations from each theme. There are 20 conversations in each module except for the base module, which has 40. If you select the Randomize button, then the application will randomly choose conversations from all the modules. So let's move to the play screen and we'll select holidays. How would you start this conversation? The student is presented an image and asked how they would start this conversation. If you want to move to a different conversation, you just tap the skip button. The students are given 3 choices in these 3 buttons above the image. If they choose the wrong answer, then they're given a hint as to what they might want to try next. Let's choose this button, "You are wearing a red shirt." That's not the best way to start this conversation. Try saying hi. Let's choose the correct answer now. That's right. Now let's record it. When they get the correct answer, the other 2 buttons disappear and they're asked to record the text in the button that's left. To do that, just tap the green record button. Hi, Justin. Once you've recorded it, you can replay what you just recorded. Hi, Justin. Once you're happy with your recording, then you move on to the next leg of the conversation by tapping the Next button. When I tap Next, the person I've been talking to is going to respond to me.
Hey, what are you doing here?
What would you say next? After the response, then the student is asked what they would say next, and the process repeats. You also have this Play Last button, which when pressed will repeat what has just been said.
Hey, what are you doing here?
So let's continue on with this conversation. That's right. Now let's record it. And then we record it. I'm camping with my parents. And then next.
Us too. Where's your tent?
What would you say next? And then we choose this one. That's right. Now let's record it. We're at a spot just over there. We're at a spot just over there. Before we proceed any further with this conversation, let's take a look at what the History button does. When you tap on History, you are able to see each leg of the conversation you have recorded so far. You can scroll through the history just by flicking. If you tap the speech bubbles, the audio clip inside the speech bubble will play.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Hi, Justin. You have access to the history at any time during the course of a conversation. To exit out of the history, just tap the Hide History button. So let's continue with our conversation. Now we tap Next.
We're going to start a campfire and tell spooky stories.
What would you say next? And select the correct answer. That's right. Now let's record it. I wonder if my parents would let me come.
You should ask them.
So now the conversation is complete. When we tap the Finish button, a new screen appears. You now have the option of playing the conversation, saving it, emailing it, or moving on to the next conversation. When I press the Play button, all the student recordings and pre-recordings will be interlaced to form a complete conversation. So this is what our conversation sounds like at the end of the process. Hi, Justin.
Hey, what are you doing here?
I'm camping with my parents.
Us too. Where's your tent?
We're at a spot just over there.
We're going to start a campfire and tell spooky stories.
I wonder if my parents would let me come.
You should ask them.
So let's save this conversation. And we'll call this one Camping. And then save. Once you save a conversation, it is stored in the student's personal folder on the archive page. So let's go to that archive page. On the left side, we have a list of all the conversations that this student has saved. If you select one, then the image associated with that conversation appears on the right side, along with the buttons that allow you to play, delete, and email it. If you email it, you get the image and the audio file as attachments. So we'll close out of this. Let's move on to the Achievements page. The Achievements page keeps track of which modules the student has completed. Once a module is complete, the student is awarded a certificate with their name and date of completion. And the certificate can be emailed and printed out. You just tap on one of these pictures, and then if they've completed the module, then their certificate will pop up where they can view it and email it. And if they haven't finished the module yet, then they get this message telling them how many more conversations they have to go to earn that certificate. So let's go back to the settings page and look at how the group setting works. So we'll select group and then go to play. So the first thing we need to do in the group setting is enter in all the names of the participants in the group conversation. And there must be at least 2 participants. To add a player, you just tap on this button here and then enter in the student's name. If you tap on this camera icon, you can take a picture of the student with the iPad. The picture will appear in the history next to the speech bubbles. Let's add one more student. Once you've entered all the names, then you tap Done. And now you're asked who will start the conversation. And so you select which participant is going to speak first. And once you've done that, you hit Done. How would you start this conversation? And so the student is presented an image and asked how they would start the conversation. Now at this point, you may add your own image by tapping the Import Photo button. Once tapped, you can choose to take a picture with the onboard camera or select an image from your photo library. Let's choose one from the library. And then you can move the image around and scale it. And when you're happy with it, you tap the Use button. And now that image is being used to record this conversation. So let's go ahead and record. This is Dad and Caitlin. And play it back. This is Dad and Caitlin. Notice that once you've recorded something, a speech bubble appears above the image, and if you tap it, you can hear what was just recorded. And this is Dad and Caitlin. When you're happy with your recording, you tap the next button and move on to the next student. Now pass your iPad to a friend and let them record a response. And then you select who will talk next. They're at a river in Central Oregon. And you can see the new speech bubble. They're at a river in Central Oregon. And you can repeat this process as many times as you want. Group conversations can be as long as you want them to be, but in order to save them, they must have a minimum of 4 legs. And that concludes the video tutorial of Conversation Builder. Please visit us at www.mobile-educationstore.com to find out more about all of our language applications. Thank you for your time.